Hello, Professor Warlicord. I hope you're doing well. This is my Chapter 19 summary of breach of contract and remedies. So let's get started. The chapter began by talking about damages, which is the compensation to a non-breaching party for a loss. There's a couple types of damages that the chapter talked about, and I'm going to start with talking about compensatory damages, since that's what it talked about for quite a while. So a compensatory damage is a type of remedy that covers the direct loss and cost to replace what was lost in the breach of contract. And in order to determine whether the contract breach results in compensable damages, there's two different things you have to look for. There must be one contract. There must be a contract that has been breached. So there has to be an actual contract, and that contract has to have been breached. And then you must also prove that the breach caused the damages that you're looking for in the suit. In determining the compensatory amount, there's the standard measure, which is the difference between the value of the promised performance and the actual performance that happened. The example that the book gave was a construction worker promised to work for 1 month for this guy, and then he promised to do that for $4,000, but then the guy told him he wasn't going to be able to come work. So he had to find another job. He was able to be paid $3,000 for doing that other job. So he was eligible for only $1,000 worth of compensatory damages because he still was able to collect $2,000 or $3,000 through the other job. So he was only eligible for $1,000. Another type of damage is incidental damages, which is expenses that are caused by the breaches. So basically, if that construction worker had to pay $1,000 to try and find his new job as well, then he could be compensated for that as well in the compensatory damages. The other type of damages that the book talked about was consequential damages. Those are damages caused by special circumstances beyond the contract. An example of that is a contract to buy a product. I think they were talking about a soft drink. So a guy entered into a contract to buy a soft drink from someone that he was going to sell to a venue that was going to be used for a big event. So when the seller of the drink breached the contract and did not fulfill their obligation, then the guy who was trying to buy it was entitled to consequential damages because there was more than just the loss of the product, because he was intending to sell it and then he would be compensated for that. So there will be there will be consequential damages in the amount of lost sales in that example. The other type of damages that the book talked about was nominal damages, which is basically when there's no actual damage done, but there is some, as in like the party that was damaged by the breach of contract actually turned out better. So basically they can still sue and receive nominal damages, which basically just says that the other party was in the wrong, but they're not entitled to compensation because they ended up better because of the breach of contract. And the end of the chapter talked about mitigation of damages, which is an innocent injured party must try to mitigate or reduce the damage from the breach of contract. So if your contract is not going to be valid, then if you're being injured by that breach of contract, then you have to try and mitigate those damages. It also talked about liquidated damages, which is a provision in a contract of the amount of money to be paid if the contract is breached, versus a penalty, which is different from that, because a penalty is meant to hurt the breaching party instead of take care of the party that is being damaged. And I think that's all that I have for my Chapter 19 summary. Have a good day, Professor.